Why should we attend the funeral and who has nothing to do with us in the place?
Pardon me? What does she mean by nothing to do them?
We don't have time to attend a straight funeral. You go ahead and have it on your own.
Later, when I returned home, I saw a file on the table, divorce papers. At that moment, I made up my mind to all ties with my husband and his farm. I would use that money only for me, mother. My name is Amelia, a 30-year-old off-worker. My husband, Joe, and I have been married for 3 years. He and I met on a dating app. He carried himself in a gentle and manner that I thought if I was with would be able to spend peaceful and times. We exchanged our numbers and went for of dates. As expected, he was always kind and him very comforting. He took very good care of me, and I considered marrying him. It was fortunate that he thought to propose to me. Of course, I accepted immediately. And so we were engaged and immediately met each other's parents. We first met with mine. Both my mom and dad felt comfortable with her. Gentle personality and were delighted by their engagement. Next, we went to greet his family. In addition to his parents, his sister, who still lived with them, was present. They seemed to be a closely knit family. Joe was smiling more than usual. I loved him more when I found him no kind, but also family-oriented. I was excited about marrying him in that we would have a very happy and family with children. However, I had one complaint. It was about a wedding. He and I had talked a lot about it, making all kinds of preparations, but then his mother, Leah, and Erica with us. At first, he just mentioned her in conversations like, my mom suggests. I was grateful for more ideas, so I quietly. Leah gradually began to interject suggestions, and by the time I realized it, she had become an active member of my wedding preparations. I wanted to make the decision alone and was annoyed by her presence, but of course, I couldn't ask her to leave. I had no choice but to keep quiet at her. Then, even Erin started to join in, eagerly sharing her ideas for my wedding. When I told them what I had in mind, disagreed and suggested doing it then. I was frustrated because it was my wedding day and Joe agreed with them. I thought if he liked their suggest, I should have let him have it his way. The worst part was when it came to dress. I already had decided which one to. When I tried it on for the first time, it looked perfect on me, and I loved it. But Leah and Erin criticized me for tacky. They brazenly spoke out whatever was mine, like it was out of the quest. Wear such a dress, and it blurred my that I looked like an old lady. They picked out a dress and forced it. It wasn't my style, and I could see it didn't suit me at all. I told Joe about it, but he didn't seem interested and said his mom and sister were already on their way to choose it for me. This was definitely disappointing for us. It was our wedding, but why couldn't he respect my opinion? Otherwise, he was dependable as he initiated in doing the housework around for us. We were already living together, and I loved him so much that I had to leave him. I ended up wearing the dress Lee had picked out for me during the ceremony, but the dress I liked was worn for the reception. Leah and Erin looked pleased, but when I asked my friends about it later, they said the other one looked much better. My close friends even thought I chose something out of my usual. My memories of the wedding were both bittersweet. It was also the event that made me meet my in-laws. After that, I was very careful in my with them. As a result, my relationship with him deteriorated after 3 years of marriage. But then there was an incident that changed everything. It all started when my dad became ill and required nursing at home. I went to my parents' house between work to help my mom take care of him. Joe was understanding and didn't argue with me spending my time away from home, doing the housework himself. On the contrary, he even drove me to where I needed to go. Days went by and Christmas arrived. It was when I offended my in-laws. I took my leave from work early and have been staying at my parents' house to help my dad, who has limited mobility. I helped my mom decorate the house and prepare Christmas dinner. The three of us spent the holiday in fact, the doctor told me that my condition was not good. And I did not have much longer to live with him. I wanted to have as much time as possible with my dad, mom, and me. That seemed to have angered my in-laws. When I was having a relaxed family, received a call from Joe.
Hello? What's going on?
Oh, sweetheart. Can you come over away?
Why? What's wrong?
My mom and dad are mad that you're not joining us.
But I told you that I wanted to speak with my parents this year. Didn't you tell them that?
Of course, I told them, but they didn't believe me. My mom says a wife should visit her parents on Christmas Day. My relatives are waiting for you too.
I was speechless. He understood my dad's condition better than anyone in my in-laws. Yet he was letting them manipulate the situation.
I'm sorry, but I've decided to spend this year with my own parents. I can't join you guys.
I said with a firm voice. He cowardly said, "Don't say that." He couldn't stand on his own feet as parents and pleaded with me to make happen. My in-laws were very healthy and we were all celebrating together. I didn't see what the big deal was. In light of all this, I wanted to six with my parents that year. This incident caused my relationship with my in-laws to deteriorate. Later on, I visited them with a box to apologize, but I was met by their blatantly cold demeanor upon arrival.
Oh my, you come too late. What are here?
I just came for the holidays. Here's a box of sweets.
Leah took the package and snarled.
I don't need your greeting.
She seemed to be quite upset, for missing the celebration.
I'm sure you've heard from Joe. My father is very ill, and I do know how much longer he will live, so I want to spend Christmas with him. I hope you understand.
My in-laws gave me cold stares, crossing their arms.
You don't really care about us, do you?
Leah blurted with spite.
No way. That's not true.
Well then, show us your sincerity, how much you care.
Sincerity?
That's right. First, let's go and get some sweets that we like. Not these randomly selected ones.
With that, she threw the present eye into the trash. I was stunned. What a terrible action on her part. I looked at Joe, who had an awkward expression. Erin spoke up.
I'd like to try Angela's tarts.
It was an expensive pastry shop. They had a luxurious price tag for tarts. My father-in-law followed her.
Then I'll have some pumpkin pie from Country Kitchen.
It was another fancy pie factory. Finally, Leah said,
I want some chocolates from Valerie's.
They were as expensive as the tarts asked for. Moreover, the shops mentioned were slightly apart from each other. It would have been very difficult to all their wishes at once.
Can I get one of them today?
They gave me the same cold stare that they had given me earlier. The next one to speak up was my husband.
Of course, you don't have to get them all.
I felt great dismay toward him. As one would expect from someone with such a unique request, Joe was on my side. Moreover, on the way to his parent, he said,
I will do my best to repair the damage you and my family have suffered.
We were there, and he immediately sighed. I got into the car, feeling frustrated, and hurried to buy the things requested. When I returned, I was interrogated for so long and was called useless for being late. They were all popular shops, and I wait in line. Also, none of them were close to E, so it was no wonder it took so long. I didn't understand why I was being punished. Since then, They regularly called me house and used me like a servant.
You said you would take care of us, so of course you would do this much, right?
They made me do housework, cook, and with the grocery shopping to name a... They really made me do a lot of their work. When I reached my limit, I told them that I was fed up with being treated so unfairly and refused to visit them anymore. No matter how much I tried to satisfy them, their attitude towards me didn't improve. On the contrary, it was getting worse. Besides, it was hard for me to take both my dad and in-laws. So I decided to just go to my parents' house. Joe blamed me for not obeying his fae. I had more than enough with him. I made it clear to him that I did not want to be treated like a housekeeper anymore. My in-laws were apparently complaining about me, but I ignored them and focused on my own care. In the meantime, his condition worsened and he was rushed to the hospital. Unfortunately, he couldn't be saved and passed away. My mom and I were both devastated, but there was a lot of work to be done, like preparing for the funeral. We pushed our feelings aside until after the arrangements were made. While we were both busy, I called GC to explain the situation. He was just at his parents' house, and I asked them to attend the funeral. He agreed, but then a few minutes, Anna called me back. When I picked up the phone, Leah's out.
Hello? Is this Amelia?
Hi, Leah. Is everything okay?
Who do you think you are? You're so superior, suddenly asking, come to a funeral.
Oh, no. I didn't mean to offend you.
Why should we attend the funeral when it has nothing to do with us in the place?
Pardon me.
What does she mean by nothing to do them?
We don't have time to attend a straight funeral.
Stranger. Joe and I are married, so we're a family.
Yes, a useless daughter-in-law, like a stranger. So your parents are also strangers. We don't care about your father, SF. You can go ahead and have it on your...
Then she hung up the phone. I was in shock. Sent a message to Joe in a panic, he replied. My parents say I don't have to go coming either. I was flabbergasted that I read the over and over again. He sounded not to have his own will. I was amazed that he was so under his parents' thumb. I focused on my dad while my mom and I went ahead with the fur. When my relatives asked me why Joe family were not present, I gave an honest answer. Everyone was furious and said I should disassociate myself from such people. I was thinking about divorce too. When I got home, I needed to have a Joe. Later, when I returned home from the office, I found a file on the table. I was surprised to see there were divorce papers inside. Joe's part was already filled in. The witness column had the names of relatives. Joe was not at home, and I didn't need a chance to talk to him. I was sure this was his intention. At that moment, I made up my mind to ties with him and his family. If that's what he wanted, I wasn't hesitant. I immediately contacted a divorce, packed my belongings, and went back parents' house. My mom was listening to the phone conversation at the funeral. When I told her about the divorce, she welcomed me back warmly, saying, "I'm glad that will save you from more trouble." I was honestly glad to leave Joe at this point in my life. If I had stayed married to him, my inheritance would have ended up in my hands. It was only for my mom and me. A few days later, while I was spending peaceful days with my mother, I received a call from Joe.
Hey, Amelia, how long are you going to be gone?
What are you talking about? I've left you. 33.
He sounded so dumb.
What do you mean you left me?
The divorce papers you left behind your intention, wasn't it?
I've had enough of you guys, so I'm leaving.
Seriously? I did it because my parents told me to scare you. I had no intention of actually divorcing my husband.
I was utterly disgusted.
You really don't have your own opinion, do you?
It's a good thing I left you. 33. 3. He was apparently calling me from his parents' house, and I was on speaker. The voice on the phone changed to Leah.
Hey, what a selfish person you are.
What do you mean? You're the one who made him use Dive, aren't you? I just did what you wanted me to do it.
You're such an arrogant daughterone.
I am not anymore.
Shut up! It's unbelievable that you want a divorce before I've even sorted out the division of property and stuff. Didn't you inherit a fortune when you died? Give us half of that money. Joe was still your husband when he will get half of the property.
I see.
That's correct. How much did you inherit?
The whole family shouted with joy when they heard the large sum.
Joe, then, will receive 150. If we get that much money, we don't anymore. After you transfer it to us, you can live your life as you please.
They were beyond belief selfish and of airheads.
What are you talking about? My father's inheritance is not part of the property division. It's all mine. And besides, do you remember calling my parents strangers? I don't have any money to spend on. Too bad for you, but let it go.
The other end of the phone suddenly down.
Yes, I'm sure. Never mind the money. Isn't it good enough to get rid of a daughter-in-law like me? As soon as I said it, Leah changed her attitude and started to implore me.
Amelia dear, everything we've said so far is just a prank, you know? It's like a surprise that took a long time to come.
That's right. We consider you family.
Such a blatant lying was heinous. It's only a matter of time before I have to deal with these people again.
I'm hanging up now. If you show up at my house, I oven K. Police? Right away.
They fell silent. I hung up the phone and blocked the... Then, just to be safe, my mom and I house and moved out. I was so glad we did. My ex-in-laws broke into my house, armed with weapons, and threatened me, all from resentment. There was someone else already living there, so they were immediately arrested. As a result, Joe, his father, and all their jobs. And the whole family is unemployed and living a miserable one. I, on the other hand, signed a contract with a reasonable rent for an apartment. My dad's inheritance will be used to retirement, and I am leading a peace, tranquil life. I will continue to work hard and live life with my mother.